Just listen to your elected officials. Everything's fine. The economy's doing great. Unemployment's doing great. The U.S. economy, the world economy is doing just great. If you want to believe that, hey, good for you. Don't watch this video. But I happen to have a different opinion. When I look at the GDP, when I look at the employment numbers, and when I look at recent data from small business, I think things are in a pretty darn scary situation. Now, they're using this great economy as a footing and a backdrop for the Fed to be very hawkish, very tight with money, which is hurting our friends gold and silver. I'm going to put forth the argument in this video that things aren't that great. We're going to take a look at those factors and see how it could translate into much, much higher prices for the precious metals as we head into the coming months, years, and decades. Let's get started right now. There's a raging debate surrounding whether or not the U.S. economy is in a recession. Some people say yes, some people say no. I don't know how you feel. I think we are in a recession. GDP in the first quarter was negative 1.6% negative. And GDP in the second quarter was negative 0.9%, and that's if you believe the government's data. They always present things in the most rosy, beautiful light and massage the numbers. Now, when it comes to GDP, I want to point out this, and correct me if I just happen to be wrong, because that does happen on a regular basis. However, the GDP numbers are calculated on a nominal basis. That means just a dollar basis, okay? So if we have 10, 15, 20% inflation and the economy is still on a total dollar basis, roughly about the same, actually a little negative, doesn't that mean that economic activity is contracting because there's fewer transactions just at a higher dollar level? How can they say that the economy is healthy if indeed the actual number of transactions occurring is decreasing? And Jeffrey Gundlach, the bond king, most respected guy on Wall Street, he said something so keen last week. He said, I don't know why everybody's arguing about whether or not we're in a recession, when what we should be talking about is that we definitely are in a stagflation environment, very fertile ground for the price of gold and silver. Now, you may not be the bond king, you may not be the basement king, but you're always welcome in Ron's basement. I really appreciate you deciding to spend a little of your time with me here in the basement today. I hope you find my content interesting, educational. If you do, you can subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, turn on the bell notifications, leave a comment below. That's where we all learn. Now let's move on to these employment numbers. Under the best of circumstances, the employment numbers are always considered to be a little bit of a joke. They've manipulated the numbers now over the decades to the point that most people don't take them all that seriously. But think about this. I think we are in a sweet spot right now. I think the economy is not in good shape. But just because they can claim they added all these jobs in July, that doesn't mean that things aren't going to change very quickly for the labor market. I believe we're in a little bit of a sweet spot, right? Let's look at the supply-demand dynamic that goes on in the labor market. On the supply side, on the people side, the available employee side, you've got a lot of people that ran out of stimulus checks, okay? The stimulus checks, the extra money they had from that is gone, right? That prompted more people to come back into the workforce. Number two, we've got this runaway inflation. Let's just say 20%. Gasoline, food, rent, have you looked at those? Okay, so people don't have enough money. Wages aren't going up 20, 25% per year, so that also prompted a high number of people to move back into the labor market. And many of you have left comments below talking about how you know people that are working 2 or 3 jobs now just to make ends meet. Because of inflation, people are really, really struggling. So yeah, we added 500,000 jobs, but some of those jobs were 15-hour-a-week people that are taking on extra hours at Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever. just so they can put food in their stomach and maybe a little gas in their car. This was not real sustained economic growth. But where it gets very interesting is when you look at the demand side. My thesis states that these employers have been so hard up for so long, several years, to find anybody, that as people finally started, people out of desperation started to become available for these 15 and 20 and 10-hour-a-week jobs, they snatched them up as soon as they could, because they are going through or getting at the end of a very painful period where they could not find employees. I think it's just a sweet spot. It's like when Walmart had toilet paper again on the shelves after the toilet paper shortage. People still snatched it up because they remembered what it was like to have a toilet paper shortage. I don't think 2 months from now we're going to have a toilet paper shortage, nor are we going to have an employee shortage. I think these numbers are going to change very quickly as the economy continues to shrink, right? And the demand for employees is filled and maybe starts to even get cut back. Many of you also brought up the very pertinent point when it comes to employment that a lot of the big tech companies, a lot of the big companies have been announcing layoffs. A lot of these new jobs are, again, Starbucks, McDonald's, low-paying, part-time jobs. And let's take a look at the heartbeat of America, small business. Let's see how they're doing. Just consider this one fact. One of my subscribers put this in the comment section below, that in July, the month of July, half of small businesses missed a rent payment. That is not a good sign, guys. When you combine that with everything else that's going on, don't get me started. It just doesn't look good out there. Things could change very, very quickly, okay? And when they do, that can be very, very good for the price of silver, gold, the precious metals, real money, thousands of years. Hey, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you joining me in Ron's basement. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be well.